Hi guys, I'm starting a series of videos that's based off of really elaborating and growing your writing skills. Essentially, it is about growing what you already have within you, your writing skill set, and being able to project a voice and a message, as well as writing outcomes that everyone can enjoy and have. Okay, so for this particular episode, what I want to really focus on is what are certain things that you need to do. So, sort of like a global view of the coming episodes. So, what is the global view on how can we get you from where you are to where you want to be? Now, that's already important. Where are you in your writing? First, take a moment to assess this. Are you someone who is actually a great writer who has a lot of experience, but because of where you are in life, haven't you don't really have the time right now to go back to it? But are regretting that decision and now want to sort of like continue writing? Or are you someone who's writing every day, but you're like, why isn't my writing good? Or why isn't it the way I want it to sound? So, first of all, I want you to assess that. Like, pause the video, take 20 seconds, write that down. Once you start playing it again, hopefully you've paused it and you've already done that. What I want to talk about is sort of like, let's see how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that I want you to sort of conquer today. The first one is, and this is a challenge I'm going to give you. So every sort of like every video I'm going to have is going to have a challenge. So today's challenge is just writing. So for the first step, which sounds so obvious to writing, is actually writing. But a lot of us, and I feel like a lot of our personalities and is sort of like perfectionist, or like we're trying to write like in a way that's like super out there and super intense. But your first challenge I'm going to give you is just write. Just take a paper, take a pencil, write on your phone, wherever you feel comfortable, and just give it a go. Forget about the idea of having writer's block. You could talk about having writer's block forever. And I've done it, okay? So, like, if you're really stuck and you don't know what you want to write about, talk about how you don't know what you want to write about. And you're going to be impressed with what sort of comes out of that. Maybe you'll realize what you actually want to write about. Maybe you'll learn why you're scared about writing, and that could go a long way. So, that's the first tip. Write. The second thing I want to talk about is not expecting so much of yourself. Now, at the end of the day, we all want to be great writers. We all want to be able to produce something amazing. But when you expect every single piece of writing to be super out there, then you're not allowing yourself to take a risk. And that's not okay. I think it's important for you to learn to accept flaws in your writing and also work on them. You can't work on something if you don't know what's going on, if you don't know what's wrong. If there's something that you're not sure, have an audience, right? It could be about sharing things with 2 or 3 people that are interested in writing, creating a sort of like group of people that are interested in reading your work. And if there's something that you want to send me and you want to say, okay, I'm interested in telling you a little bit about my story, then go ahead and send me your pieces of writing. I also do writing consultation, and you're more than welcome to book one of those in which I would look at your piece of writing specifically. But what you really want to do is just produce work, okay? You have to be your own cheerleader. So that was 2. Number 3 is having a routine. Now, what I mean by having a routine is not necessarily having 10 minutes in the morning or at night where you write. Now, if I'm going to be honest, that's what was working the best for me. My life situation has changed a lot, and when it comes to work, not work, business, etc. So I haven't had a fixed schedule. So it's very hard for me right now to create a specific time for me to write about specific things. But as I'm sort of like changing, I'm also being more flexible about that. And I really want to go back to having a specific time to write poetry, a specific time to write, etc., like articles, Instagram posts, these videos, what so on. Okay. However, I'm still very fixed in my writing routine. So what do I do when I write? A coffee is really important for me. Not to say that sometimes I do switch to like water, etc. But I do think that writing really helps. That a coffee really helps me when I write. It allows me to be at my peak performance of writing. What situation allows you to write the best that you can? I'll give you another example. So you want to look at location, for example. Are you better when you're writing in a cafe, or are you better when you're writing at home alone? What routine can you create to allow your own self to be at their peak performance? So now, the fourth point I want to talk about is your voice. So I know this is a lot of content in a short period of time, but I just want to be able to give you guys as much content and as much like value as I can in a short period of time. So number 4 is your voice. What is important about what you want to say? What is it? Like, I'm very, very raw when I write, which is why being able to put out a 10-minute poem works for me, because I'm not trying to filter, I'm not trying to over edit what I write. I find that, like, for me, that rawness is that taste of like, I got to know something. This is a real emotion and it's not that pretty, is what I really enjoy in my writing. And that's my personal voice. So for me, my voice is very raw, authentic, and daring, right? That's how I would qualify it. How would you qualify your voice? Don't try to be something that you're not. Figure out what your voice is, what makes you, and you can even ask people to do it for you. I'm going to have a separate video on how to find your voice, because there's a lot of activities that you could do to be able to figure out what it is when you don't know. But for now, like, just ask yourself, like, what is it that your voice is? What is it? What is a tone that you want to project? And finally, I want you to find your message. Now, this is also one where I think I'm going to have to do a separate video on it too. But essentially, what we're talking about is you as a person have an expertise somewhere, or have a type of expertise. Are you, for example, someone who is a health specialist? So I want you to tap into that type of message. That's what you want to say to the world. What is it that you have, or you know, or you want the expert on, that you want to share with everyone around you? So your message to society has to be something that you carry in all of your writing, right? And it doesn't need to be like something you could write in one sentence. It could be super broad. Like, my message in, for example, eulogy is about how to heal how to heal from grief, rather. However, not every single piece of my writing is about grief, because that would be very like heavy on me to carry, right? But all of my everything I write is really about being like just healthy in your mind space, right? Like, my writing is cathartic. So like, for me, my message is, you could get through this. You are able to get through life. And in a really positive way. Like, you can make a lot out of your life. And so that has to resonate in all of my writing. Now, I don't need to say, oh, I am writing to be able to help you get through grief. It should, my writing should just create that. It should be like a byproduct almost, but it's actually your goal, right? So sharing my journey of grief, my message is, you could get through grief. And that's what you really want to figure out. What is your message? And so you also know where you're trying to go. And that's so important, to always go back and circle back to your intention and to your origin, like the you that you're trying to put out there. So yeah, so that was my couple of tips on how to be able to start your writing process and how to write. And I hope these were helpful. Let me know in the comments if it was helpful. If you're not following me, if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Instagram, make sure that you're also following me. It's Miriam Ward Covers. I'm going to try to put this up on Instagram and on YouTube. So hopefully it's there for all of you. And finally, I'm going to be also putting up a lot of little tips throughout the day on my Instagram story feed. And so and let me know, like, if you have a question, if there's something that you want me to cover, etc. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Have a lovely, lovely day, and thank you for coming here on my channel.